If you're going on a cruise for the first time, there are going to be some things that are going to absolutely surprise you. Now, these are things that the cruise lines don't usually talk about, and even experienced cruisers may just take these things for granted. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, I know cruises are different than land vacations. You have heard that before. But once in a while, I'll have a conversation with somebody and I am reminded of so many of the things that I take for granted that everybody knows, and it's just not the case. And it especially surprises new cruisers. Now, even if you've watched a lot of cruise tip videos like this, I have a feeling there are at least a few of these that you'll want to know. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Number one, the stores, the shops, and even the casinos are not open on cruise ships when your cruise ship is docked in port. Now, a lot of times people think maybe for their first cruise, they may decide to stay on the ship one of the days that the cruise ship is in port. That's a really nice day to relax on the ship. That's a good idea. However, sometimes people are surprised. There are things they want to buy in the shops. They think they'll do a little bit of shopping. You cannot do that when your ship is in port. It is the maritime law that they do need to have those shops closed. And likewise, if you are a casino lover, you will not have that casino open until your ship sails away. Now, there are a couple of exceptions to this rule. Sometimes when a cruise ship overnights in certain ports, they are able to open after a certain hour, but even that is not guaranteed. Number two, you may be double tipping without knowing it. Now, I know tips on cruises or gratuities are always a little bit of a controversial subject. However, I'm not talking about daily gratuities in this video. What I am talking about, however, is that when you are purchasing a drink, for instance, at the bar, something that you should know is even if there is a line for the tip, you are already charged a service charge. Now, the service charge is typically 18 to 20%. You will see that on your bill. So definitely, if you want to double tip, so if you want to tip above the 18 or 20% mark, definitely go ahead and do so. The bartender will definitely appreciate it. However, sometimes people do add an extra dollar or more, and then they're surprised to know that they already did pay for a tip. Number three, cruise ships are not as crowded and busy as you might think. We always hear stories about cruise ships having 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people on board, and you can imagine that you're part of a big crowd all the time. However, that is not the case. Now, of course, I am talking about popular mainstream cruise lines, but even in areas like the pool deck, where, to be honest, you are going to have a hard time finding a chair right close to the pool if you don't get one early in the morning, but there are always ways to get a deck chair. Usually you just have to go a little bit further from the pool, forward or aft, but you will definitely find a chair and you will find quiet places around the cruise ship. You could find them outdoors, so you could find them on the promenade deck. You could find little nooks and crannies and even little secret spaces on the cruise ship, and definitely inside as well. There are so many places that you could just sit and read a book or have a cup of coffee or tea or have a chat with a friend that are far away from the crowds. Number four, the crew is mostly not American. So even if you go on an American cruise line like Royal Caribbean or like Carnival, you can expect the crew to be very international. Now, a lot of the crew may come from India, they may come from the Philippines, they may come from Jamaica, they may come from Eastern Europe. And of course, you're always going to find people that are American, Canadian, British, Australian. But something to know is that when you are going on a cruise, you're going to have a very diverse staff and crew. Number five, now this is something important to know before you book your cruise or at the time that you're booking your cruise. It is that cruise ship cabins are not the same as hotel rooms. Now, it probably doesn't make a very big difference if you're only two people in the cabin. However, if you are four people in the cabin, so for instance, if you're a family of four with two children and two adults, you should know that you will not have anything that resembles a hotel room. So in other words, you're not going to have two queen size beds. What you will have instead is the size of your cabin is going to be the same whether you're two people in the cabin or four. So you may have a queen size bed for the adults down below, or two twin beds that are put together, and then above you may have two Pullman beds or bunk beds, or you may have a small pull-out sofa, but it is going to be on the small side. Now, something that you might want to do, so this is a little cruise tip, is take a look at, depending on how much you're paying for that third and fourth passenger, price out 2 cabins for 2. You can often get connecting cabins or 2 cabins that are side by side, and that might be a good choice that can still fit in your budget, but that can offer you more space. Now, by the way, if you're planning a cruise for the first time, I do have the Ultimate Cruise Planner, which is a 47-page downloadable printable cruise planner that you can print off the pages that you need for as many cruises that you do go on. It includes everything that you need to plan your cruise from A to Z. So from the beginning, planning and budgeting, through your embarkation day checklist, your packing checklist, and more. I'll leave the link for the Ultimate Cruise Planner down below in the description of this video in case you do want to check it out. Number 6, there is more included on a cruise than you might think. Now, something that I've noticed in the last few years is that cruise lines are really trying to encourage people to upgrade their experiences. So upgrade their food packages, upgrade their beverage packages. And that is something that definitely can be good if it's something that you want to do. Definitely go ahead and do it. It probably is the best value to upgrade with a package rather than buying these things separately on a cruise. But something that you should know is how much is included. There are 3 meals a day, snacks, even more than 3 meals a day that are included on a cruise. There are casual restaurants, sit-down restaurants. The drinks that are included are milk and juice in the morning, water that is drinkable all day. Standard coffee and tea is available in the buffet or elsewhere. And you'll always have iced tea, lemonade, or fruit punch. That will be available all the time as well. Now, by the way, what is included on a cruise does vary by cruise line to cruise line. So if you'd like to see specific information on any particular cruise line, please let me know down in the comments below. Number 7, your days in your cruise port of call are always going to be shorter than they seem on the itinerary. Now, what I mean by this is if you see on your itinerary that you're going to be in a port from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m., what this really means is chances are you're going to get off the cruise ship somewhere between 8 and 9 a.m. That is absolutely fine, but don't expect to get back on the cruise ship at 4 o'clock. The all aboard time is always going to be 30 minutes before that time that you see. And if you have a tender port, you can see this on the itinerary, you're going to need to plan to be back earlier than that. Now, as long as the date works for me, something that I try to do is I try to avoid any of the itineraries with tender ports. I just find it much easier to have a longer, more relaxing day where I can walk off and on the ship because it's docked directly at port. Number 8, something that is rare, but that some people do experience after they get off the cruise ship, and they're very surprised because they always say no one ever talks about this. And this is mal de débarquement, or land sickness. Now, what this basically is, and I actually had a little bit of this after my first cruise. It didn't really bother me, but I did find it was such a weird feeling. And basically what happens is after you get off the cruise, you have your sea legs, you finally gotten used to maybe a little bit of the swaying and the movement of the ship, just a little bit. And you get off the cruise ship and you feel like the land under you is actually moving, swaying, or kind of going up and down like a bit of a hill, almost like you're floating. And some people report feeling that for a day or two, and some people report feeling that a little bit longer. Now, I don't have the solutions for that. For me, I just let it pass. It lasted a couple of days, and it kind of was a little bit of a funny feeling, but it definitely didn't bother me. Other people, it bothers a little more. I have heard some people say that what they just do is they take seasickness medication like Bonine, for instance, a non-drowsy one, or a little ginger tablet or something, and that really helps. So it's definitely not something to worry about, but if you do experience any of those symptoms, just know that that is very normal after your first cruise. And by the way, if you've ever experienced anything like this, please let me know down in the comments below how you handled this. Number 9, you might change outfits more than you think on a cruise. I am not sure why we do that, but it really is very common for people to change, well, I'd say 2 times a day, but even some people report changing 3 times a day or even sometimes more. But something to keep in mind is that you have your days that you might be spending by the pool. But if you go on inside the cruise ship and if you go to some of the activities like maybe the trivia or the dance classes, you're probably going to change clothing for a more casual outfit to wear inside the cruise ship. If you go into a cruise port of call, you might be wearing an outfit for sightseeing, but when you come back to the cruise ship, you might change again into your bathing suit and cover up. And of course, then you have the evenings, you have your casual wear, and if you do participate in any of the formal or in the elegant nights, then you'll have outfits for then as well. Now, you definitely don't have to overly stress about what to wear and what to pack, and you can even pack carry-on only and keep your clothing minimal and rewear your outfits. but don't be surprised if you do feel like dressing up a little bit on a cruise. Now, before I say number 10, I do have a bonus after this one because cruise lines are sort of discouraging this maybe a little bit or not talking about it as much as they used to. So I do want to mention it after this one. But number 10, thing that might absolutely surprise you is how much you love your sea days. Now, I know it's really common for people for a first cruise to be looking at their itineraries and try to get in as many days in port as possible to try to minimize those days at sea, just thinking of them as sort of part of the journey or part of the travel. And what most people say is they love their sea days. They love the activities, they love the relaxing, they love the fun that they have on those days. They love just being out in the open ocean. So something that really might surprise you is how much you love being at sea. Okay, I put this one as a bonus because I really do think that cruise lines these days are talking about this a little bit less, but it is something that you should know. And it is that when it comes to the food, not only in the dining room, but in the casual venues as well, is you can eat as much as you want. Now, granted, there are sometimes some extra charges for certain things in the main dining room, but on the most part, everything is included and you can order more than one appetizer, more than one entree. So that is something to be aware of, more than one dessert. And honestly, the waiters are not going to look at you funny. Sometimes the portions are very small. So just request something a little bit larger if you do want that. But that is something that you should know. Now, I actually share more about the main dining room and things that you should know, mistakes that you should avoid. So I'll make sure to leave that video next. And I'm also going to leave all of the information about the Ultimate Cruise Planner linked down below in the description of this video. Now, if you're a first-time cruiser, please leave any of your questions down below in the comments. I'll try to answer them either in the comments or in a future video. And if you've taken a cruise already, please leave me your cruise tips, your cruise hacks, especially for first-time cruisers. Please leave them down in the comments below as well. I know they will help other people. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now and happy cruising.